everybody, this is Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. And if you want to get your money's worth, stay right here because you're listening to Knockouts and 3 Counts. And remember, everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
This is Don West here, and I'm telling you, Knockouts and 3 Counts is the podcast, baby. Make sure that's the one you check out, because, buddy, like me, they're the real deal, baby.
This is Jake the Snake Roberts. Just letting you know, you need to listen to Knockouts and 3 Counts, or you'll see that damn snake again.
This is the Ring of Honor World Television Champion, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy. And you're listening to Knockouts and 3 Counts.
What up, though, everybody? This is Kyle, and you are listening to Knockouts and 3 Counts. As you can see, I'm solo in the studio, but we do got the other Kyle with us as well. He's on the line. Kyle, let them know where they can find you real quick throughout your social medias.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Kyle. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Team Chaos. That's Kayos. You can also find me on Facebook, Kyle J. Campbell. And you can also find my other show, Wakanda Podcast, is this, Wakinda, everywhere where you'll listen to a podcast at.
And without any further ado, before we get to our special guest tonight, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Detroit Knockout, at Detroit Knokout. Make sure you're following the show at KO3C Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and at KO3CPod.com. You can find all of our past episodes, as well as make sure you're checking out our YouTube. You'll see all the content that we brought you from StarCast 4. There's interviews up there with Excalibur and Bischoff and all of Jungle Express. Or Jurassic Express, excuse me. I meant to say Jungle Boy. Darby Allin, the one that we got all over Bleacher Report. There's plenty of good shit up there for you to check. And without any further ado, we've got a very special guest. If you guys have been paying attention and watching Impact, you know exactly who this is. We've got Rohit Raju from Impact. You also may know him as Hakim Zane if you watch around the Detroit area. How you doing, brother, man?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
Not too bad, man. Just dealing with this fucking Detroit weather.
Oh, man. I feel you.
So, before we get started, let everybody know where they can find you at.
Well, Twitter, at Hakim Zane. That's Hakimzane. And if you type in Rohit Raju, you'll find that as well. Same thing, Instagram, Raju Zane 80. And then, of course, if you look up the Mad Dragon, Hakim Zane / Rohit Raju on Facebook, you'll find me on there as well.
So, as our homies from Breaking Down the Ring let everybody know, you guys were first out tonight on Impact, and you were actually going against past guests of the show, the Rascals. So, first of all, let's start there. You're part of the Desi Hit Squad. You've got Game Singh with you. You've got, you guys have been doing your thing for a minute now. How do you like the matchup with what we saw tonight on Impact? There was a triple threat with you guys.
Actually, it was myself, the Demons, Reno Scum, and the Rascals.
That's it.
It was fire. If anybody missed that, it was really good. 4 great teams in the ring right there. Reno Scum, I'm a huge fan of their work, watching them, especially now at the back of Impact. And of course, the Rascals, we match up with them real well, whether it's in singles, myself with Trey, or tag match with Zach and Lance. And of course, the Demons, we had a huge feud with them, and that was also great. So, good match. If you guys missed it after the match, we didn't take the pinfall, but we didn't win the match either, so we got an earful from Gama. And so we were walking back up the stairs. We found Fala, and so we whooped Fala real quick. And I'm sure TJP will have something to say about that. But, yeah, we left anyway. And so, we ended up leaving the show with I guess you could say our heads held high.
So let's talk about that a little bit. You guys have been on quite a roll, and you mentioned getting an earful from Gama and all that stuff. How does his influence, help you guys, going into your match? Because anyone that maybe doesn't know, Game Singh has all kinds of wisdom and knowledge as far as the wrestling game. I mean, how does that help you guys as a team and just for yourself? What have you learned from him?
I love, honestly, a lot of people, they don't understand how underrated Gama is. he can still get in the ring and do stuff, even though he really doesn't want to. His promos, some people don't like them, but if you ever catch his offline promos, they're fantastic. It's old school heat. Just listening to him talk about the Calgary days or doing tours in South Africa and stuff like that, it's so cool. The dude is a plethora of knowledge, and he's very old school, and I just love sitting down and talking to him. And I'm a big fan of the old school style of professional wrestling, so being on the learning tree from him is a pleasure on my part. And so I enjoy it. I just enjoy listening to him. He's a very classy individual, very soft-spoken. It's something that I never thought I would experience. And I knew of him from back in the day when he was doing stuff at Stampede, with the Karachi Vice stable. So I am very familiar with Kamo, so being able to talk to him and actually be underneath him is pretty sweet.
Kyle, any questions for our guest?
Yeah. With the kind of climate that's going on with everything in pro wrestling right now, with the emergence of AEW, with WWE going to Fox, with SmackDown, with Ring of Honor signing new television deals, how is the morale at Impact? Is it really kind of a let's show everybody, what we have here at Impact? Like, how is the morale really working at Impact right now?
It's really good. I think the morale's the best it's been in a long time. The locker room is super talented. It's pretty young, I guess you could say, but it's young with people that have been around the indie scene for quite some time, or have been in the game for, I'd say at least, 10 years plus. And then you have like the veterans like RVD and Rhino, guys like that. David Callahan's amazing. Brian Cage, amazing. Rich Swann, amazing. The North, amazing. And that's just the tip of the iceberg right there. We want to erase that stigma. And it's great that we're on AXS now, because now we have like a main channel again. But we honestly want to erase that stigma under the old management that was from a few years ago. They had that really long run, and it wasn't that great. But now things are different. You always have professional wrestling fans. It's like not even just professional wrestling fans. It's just the way the climate of society is nowadays. Everyone's so toxic, and people always have to hate on something. Well, I don't understand why you would not be happy to be a wrestling fan right now, because you have so much wrestling that you can watch that you should be happy. But, people are always like, oh, well, these guys are terrible. Well, then the Impact's doing this wrong, and, oh, they're a joke. And actually, we're not a joke. The talent on Impact, I'll put that up against anybody's roster. We're fantastic. So, yeah, we're really hungry, and we want to show the world that we are just as good, if not better, than anybody else, and erase that old stigma that Impact was a redhead stepchild of professional wrestling. Not anymore. Our product, I'll put our product against anybody. Of course, there's hype with certain things right now, so everyone's going to jump on that bandwagon, and they can do no wrong, and everyone's going to be like, oh, that's the greatest thing ever, this wrestler's the greatest person ever, and all this other stuff. And some of it's warranted, and some of it's a little over, a little inflated. Our product is really, really good. The tag match that you just saw, Rich Swann and Elgin from a few months back was amazing. It just gets better and better. People just need to pump the brakes a little bit on the hate and open up their eyes and give us a chance, and I promise that they would be satisfied.
So you brought up a good point, and it led right into a question I was going to ask you. So, everybody knows that Impact has just went over to AXS TV. Can you talk a little bit about how important you think the move to AXS is, with them being on smaller channels like Pursuit and things like that, and them using the Twitch platform? And do you think now that you guys are on a bigger platform, has that kind of like lit an extra fire under you guys to kind of, do exactly what you said, and blast that out there, like, so that maybe people that have tuned away from Impact a little bit, look at it and are like, oh shit, look at the roster they got over here and look at what they're pumping out?
It's huge. Being back on prime time on a big channel is a big deal. I think Twitch was smart because a lot of people use Twitch, but it's a lot of people that are tech savvy that use that. There's still that older crowd of wrestling that wants to watch wrestling when they're channel surfing. So if they're channel surfing and all of a sudden they see Rhino or they just see professional wrestling and it catches their eye, they're like, oh, what's this? This isn't, WWE, or this isn't what's it called, and they end up sticking there and watching it, and most likely they're going to like it. So it's a big deal for us, and yeah, it's a motivator. It lights a fire under the roster again to show the world that we're just as good as anybody else.
So we've talked a little bit about Impact's move and things like that. Tell me, you said that you're a big fan of old school wrestling. So first of all, let us know a little bit about what was it that got you into wrestling, and do you remember specifically what it was that was like the spark for you or your biggest inspiration getting into it?
I don't. The earliest memory I have was when my dad was flicking through channels, and it was WCW, and they were showing highlights of matches, and it was the Road Warriors in a Russian chain match against the Koloffs. And at the time, I was like, what is this? Because the Road Warriors are larger than life. You know what I mean? The shoulder pads, the face paint, they're jacked out of their mind. And next thing I know, there's Hogan, and you're seeing all these larger than life characters. I'm watching wrestling. And as a kid, I would always had a yellow Superman shirt, and I always tell everybody this. I had a yellow Superman shirt. I had my mom cut the back so it looked like Hogan's, and I had this giant teddy bear, and I would beat it up, and I would record it, and I would do all the commentary, and I would, like Vince McMahon always had that, oh my God, can you believe it? What a maneuver! And I would do that, and then I would cut the interviews backstage, and I would do all the voices and try to mimic them, and just do stuff like that. And then it grew, and then we would skip school to go get tickets to go watch Nitro, and I remember going not backstage, but we would wait for wrestlers to leave, and we would be hanging out in the back, and then we would be cutting promos as wrestlers would come out, and I would be doing all these impressions and trying to do Dusty Rhodes and stuff because he was there, and it was just like, it never stopped. We'd sneak up in the mezzanine in high school, and they had a big crash mat, so we were trying to power bomb and do stupid shit like that to each other on there, and I never grew out of it. And then when I finally had a chance to actually go train legitimately, I did, and it's the rest is history.
So the cool thing is, even though you guys are tearing it up over there at Impact, a lot of people don't realize you're from Saginaw, correct?
Yes.
Right. So you're from the Michigan area, and you can still be found at a lot of places around here in Detroit, like XICW, or I know you did Sanctuary Fight Club that just happened recently.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that. A lot of places, it's gotten to the point where they're trying to keep people like real exclusive. So for you, how is that getting to not only be on now a big network in AXS TV for Impact and getting to be seen by thousands and on between Twitch and AXS TV and all that stuff, but how do you think it either helps you, or what do you like about the fact that you're still able to be around all the the local indies as well, on top of being with Impact?
It's fun being able to travel, do the stuff on TV, and then go back and do indie shows. I think Michigan has always had a great scene in professional wrestling, very underrated. I have to credit it. When I first started those first few years, I was staying mostly Midwest. I would go to Indiana and Ohio here and there, but I was staying in Michigan, and I would start out like with, PPW, and there used to be a promotion called UWA, and XI was always the one I was trying to get to, and, I'll always thank the guys that put me on their show and let me cut my teeth and put me in better positions and put me in better matches with better opponents to help me learn and get better. And I felt like I did. And I've always tried to grind here, and it was cool coming back for Sanctuary Fight Club. That was really fun, seeing a lot of familiar faces and seeing a lot of great talent. So that's amazing. It's awesome being on TV, but I'm also grinding at Impact. You know what I mean? It's not like the Daily Hit Squad is like these top contenders. Right. We've been really shuffling at the bottom for quite some time. So some promotions see that and like, sweet, you know what I mean? We know you're on TV, we're going to bring you in, you're doing really well. But then you try to get the bigger indie promotions, and they are already booking top Impact guys. So you have to kind of go in there and do something different and stand out, because Rohit Raju just isn't going to cut it, because he's not getting, I guess he's not higher up in the ranks on Impact, you know what I mean? So, and that's what I'm working on in Impact. I'm trying to show that the squad can do something. And Raj and I have been gelling a lot more, and bringing Cheryl along helps a lot too because he adds another dynamic. So it's a little bit different. So we're starting to get a little bit better quality matches and stuff like that. So that's fun. But it's cool being able to do that on TV and then still being able to go on the indies. And for me, I can still go on the indies and be Hakim Zane and do a little something different than what you see on TV and show a wider range of character.
So one of those things that's helping you, show a little bit wider character when you're not Impact happens to be, from what I saw, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're teaming with you've teamed a lot with one of our past guests of the show, Karam. Tell me a little bit about that. What are your thoughts on him and you guys as a tag team? Like, what do you see as like the big differences with like you guys versus when you and Raj are on TV with Impact?
Well, with Impact, it is mainly for they want Indian representation, which is pretty cool. I'm half Indian, half black, so being able to represent India is pretty cool. But that's that. You know what I mean? That's Rohit Raju and coming out in the cool kurta and the ring jacket and stuff like that, and being with Gama. Me, however, like Hakim Zane is a little bit different, where I'm still with the same intensity. I'm still with the same, I guess, assholiness. I can't even how I want to pronounce it, but it's still that, but it's a little bit more visceral. My AEW stuff, to me, has been some of the best stuff I've ever done. A lot of people don't know I can cut a promo. And I remember trying to get in AEW. I kept trying, and I was putting on good matches, and he said, well, you look great, your in-ring work is great, but he said, you're just not connecting with fans as much. What can we do to change that? And I said, give me a microphone. And then myself and a couple guys at AEW, we came up with this thing. I put on this mask, I would cut these promos, and nobody would know who it was. And it blew up. I was getting like thousands of views on it, and people were like, oh, this has to be Austin Aries, or this has to be Killer Cross, this has to be Eli Drake, this has to be so-and-so, and so-and-so, and so-and-so. And they were naming all these top indie names. And it was me, someone that hadn't got that credit yet on the indies. And a lot of people liked it, and some people didn't like it, that it was me. But the thing is, it didn't change the fact that I was the one cutting the promo. And so going back to the original question with Karam and I, we did a show in Flint. Super Future was putting it on. Actually, Ben Jones was putting it on for his brother was the principal there. And he put Karam and I together. And Karam and I always knew we had some type of chemistry. We had a very distinct look, you know what I mean? We're both ethnic, so I don't want to say that shit always happened, but we also get along. We kind of have the same drive and goal and mentality when it comes to working hard and being successful. So we put us together and we just gelled real well. And I remember people saying, man, you guys should be a team. And then we're like, well, okay, let's do what we can do. We went down to Glory Pro down in the St. Louis area, Lower Illinois, and I said, hey, can this guy be my tag partner, my heater? I'll be Shawn Michaels up in the Diesel. And they're like, okay, we'll see what happens. And next thing you know, the Hustle and Muscle was born. And we started messing with that. We're like, man, that's pretty good together. And then I pitched it at AEW. They actually gave him to MJF first, and then obviously MJF was with AEW, and then they finally let us do our thing. And now we are starting to blow up a little bit. And it's cool being able to do that because he has a really good skill set. He's huge. He automatically has a presence when you see him. And he's good at the ring. And he's super young. And he wants to get better and be successful. Gotta deliver for that guy. He already has a big presence known and evolve. And it's just, he just has to stay healthy and he'll be fine. But he has all the tools to be something in this business. And the fact that I get to team up with him and kind of mold him a little bit from my end and just, watch him grow is pretty cool with me. I think stuff we're going to be doing is very, because everyone wants to be, you can't say anything nowadays in society or even wrestling. And we pretty much said, screw that. And I'm just running off my mouth saying whatever the hell I want. some people actually dig that, and with him having my back, it's pretty cool. It's just a good dynamic. It's a good look.
So in doing research to get ready for this show, we were listening to your interviews with the homies from Breaking Down the Ring. Another name that kept coming up and is another past guest of the show. You've had quite a few run-ins with quite a few of our past guests. Another one that comes to mind right away, and something that I don't know about you, Kyle, because we work with BCWA here, locally, but you've had a lot of run-ins with their champion and our past guest of the show, Orlando Christopher. So tell us a little bit about that, because I went down the wormhole and looked up some of the stuff I could find on YouTube. Tell me a little bit about your relationship with Orlando, and is that a match that you'd like to see run back, anytime soon?
It's always fun to get in the ring with him. When I first started, he was kind of like already had veteran status, and he would watch matches, and he would tell you exactly how it was. He wouldn't be one of those guys that'd be like, "Oh yeah, man, good match. It was good." You know what I mean? And he would actually tell you, "Oh, it was good, but this was this, and I wouldn't do that. I like this or this like that." And I would listen to him because every time he was going out there, he was having great matches. And finally, I was starting to get better, and we had finally got a program with each other at XI. And it was really good, and I'll never forget the fans. It was just building up to it, and we wrestled for almost a half hour, I think, and we were just all over the place. And I remember at one point, as soon as we went out to the outside, the first dive happened. The fans didn't sit down; they were standing on their feet from beginning to end. And the match was awesome. And then we had a cage match that was awesome, and it was just really, really fun. And then the last time, I don't think we really did anything for a long time. And we'd run into each other here and there, do a couple scrambles up in Canada, but nothing like huge. And then we had a singles match not too long ago, but I know he was pretty banged up when we had it. But it was still good. It was still fun. It was an easy crowd, but it was just a fun match. I liked it a lot. So anytime I get in the ring with him, he's good. You know what I mean? He pushes himself. He's one of those guys that likes to go out there and try to steal the show every time. And why would you not want to be in the ring with someone like that?
So Mike Blackwell, BCWA, we're going to definitely we're always talking about, how we're trying to help you out here, man. Orlando's got your belt. I feel like we got a guy that could come in and light some shit up. Kyle, I know you got some questions, so throw them out there.
Yeah, so because you're one of the few guys right now that is able to still be, touring and being in the indies and being on a major promotion on weekly TV, who are some of the people that you have worked with in the indies that, the people that like watch Impact wouldn't necessarily know, or who are some people that you would like to work with in the indies and possibly have a big match at Impact at Hard to Kill?
The one person I want to wrestle at Impact is Rich Swann. The first time Swanee and I would go backstage, and he does a really good Bret Hart, and I would combat him, I guess, in promo as Steve Austin, and we would just ad-lib back and forth, cutting promos on each other. But I finally got a chance to wrestle him in a tag match. It was myself and Shira versus him and Willie Mack, and that was great. And Swanee and I, we both like to be entertaining, but also, like to have good matches. And then we did it again on Impact TV it was Raj and I versus him and Willie. And both times I loved it. And I know Swanee had said, man, we definitely need a one-on-one. And that's who I really want to wrestle one-on-one is Swanee. As far as guys on the indies, did you say guys that aren't in Impact that I enjoyed working with on the indies?
Kyle?
Yeah, there were some people that haven't been, that wouldn't be widely known that you would like to work with, either in the indies or in Impact.
As far as the indies go, I mean, man, that's tough. I like Orange Cassidy. I know a lot of people either hate what he does or really enjoy it. Sometimes I like to be goofy So I think just figuring out ways how to work around that would be fun. I did a match Sunday, and one of the guys, I know he does this gimmick, he just started it. It's called Is Dan the Dad? So he tells like all these dad jokes and all this stuff. So I'm cutting this promo, ripping into the crowd, and he grabs the mic from me and he puts me in timeout. And he does it so convincingly that it's hilarious. So stuff like that to me is, I know it's not for everybody. I'm a fan of character work. You know, I don't agree with everything that everybody does, but that's just not my cup of tea. I'm not going to sit here and say it's wrong, but I am a fan of doing character work. So, but I you know, honestly, off the top of my head, there's nobody. There's so many great guys. I'm not saying there's no one that I don't want to work with. There's so many great guys on the Indies. I don't know who I would where I would even want to start. And it's hard to say because there's the Indies right now, man. The talent is it's unlimited. It's insane. There's so many good guys everywhere. So just being in good matches, quality matches with guys, that's all I ask for.
So with that being said, you know, now that you've got your contract with Impact, you know, tell me a little bit about, like, how do you feel like the Indies help prepare you for where you're at now? Because I know it was a grind for you to get to Impact in the first place. So tell me, how did your time on the Indies, you know, help prepare you for it? And since you've been with Impact for a little while, since before they ended up with AXS, you know, what are the biggest things that you've seen as a change to the climate there?
As far as getting prepared, I don't think anything prepares you, to be honest. Being obviously traveling, being in the ring every single weekend, perfecting your craft, finding yourself, and trying to improve, that helps you when you get to a bigger stage because your craft shows. But to me, what threw me off a lot was time. Not going over your time, hitting all your time cues, being in the ring for TV. That was my biggest thing. I'm more comfortable now, but man, that was honestly, when I first got there, I couldn't wrap my head around it, and I could tell it affected my in-ring work. I was not as smooth as I was on the Indies. But being able, if you do like a good indie that has TV and you work the hard cams and you're cutting the promos, you're cutting backstage promos, and you're continuing angles every single month, that helps. That helps because you already have kind of like one foot in the door and you're like, okay, I understand how this story's being told. Here's the hard cam or here's the roaming cam. I have to work these things, and you kind of know where you have to be. So that helps a lot. As far as the biggest changes, I know the morale is a lot better and the roster gets along with each other, you know, at least to my knowledge. I don't know any like backstage dirt or anything of that nature, but to my knowledge, everyone's really cool with each other and you don't have to worry about like anything too cliquey, which is, it's always fun. You know, you go into your work. When I first got there, it wasn't like that. It was very cliquey and people just acted like they didn't want you there, but a lot of those people left. So it was cool, and things like then you're running into people that are already there and they're getting used to you, or you have new people coming in that you either already knew or they're new as well. So they're not going to tell you, you know, they're not going to be like that to you, which is pretty sweet. And plus certain things with management now, you know, hotels, that's awesome, getting covered and stuff like that. That's fantastic, man. I get flown out places, and that's like superstar. And it's like, man, I couldn't imagine that. This is what you always wanted, but I couldn't even imagine that. It's so cool to be a part of that.
Kyle, I know you had some other question. What else you got?
Kind of piggybacking off of that one, it was really more of a, where do you really see professional wrestling going like in the next year? Because we are getting at kind of like a gold rush of everything. Where do you really see Impact really going within like the next year? Do you really think that you guys are really going to be able to break out? Do you think you might kind of just stay more of a high level, like kind of an indie feel promotion? Where do you really feel that Impact is really going to be able to grow, like probably like in the next year?
I think Impact, if you look at it, is really doing things differently. especially with like the intergender tags, especially like with Tessa, she's like one of the main focuses, and she's in the male, in the male divisions and stuff like that. That's different from everybody else. I think Impact, if we can continue the momentum and continue to gain new viewers and show people that, hey, we're putting out a good product, we'll be good. We'll be fine. That's all we really need to do, because I feel like we're moving in the right direction. I feel like we're very underrated. We're the underdog in the fight, and some people are already counting us out. And I feel we offer something a little bit different than everybody else does. And what else? There's not too much more we can do that we're not doing right already. Everyone's always going to complain about something. I do think they should definitely push more of the homegrown talent, I guess. I don't know. I guess. But they are, though. You look at guys like the North, who were, in my opinion, homegrown Impact guys. They did the same thing with LAX. So I think that's what we continue to need to do, is build new stars. And sure, it's cool to bring in RVDs and stuff like that, because that's going to bring in newer viewers and a newer audience, which is awesome. And those guys can still go. But also, when you put them against guys like the North, that's fantastic, because the North is going to deliver. And then people will see these guys. At first, it's like, who are these guys? And now you're starting to see, like, guys like that, they are stars. They can be in the ring with anybody. They can cut the promo, and they have this larger-than-life personality. And they mesh so well together. And I feel like the rest of the roster is like that as well. I do think for professional wrestling right now, like you're saying, we're in a gold rush. It has to, sooner or later, if it gets oversaturated, you can't get stale. Like professional wrestling in general can't get stale. And I think sooner or later, people start to realize, like, okay, that's not, you guys have done that way too many times. This promotion has done this way too many times. And, look at this match isn't as good as I thought it was a year ago, and stuff like that. People are going to start to catch on. I think professional wrestling has to continue to evolve, but in a way that respects where it came from. You can't go off the beaten path so much that it's like, well, you're losing your core audience. You have to be able to play the both in order to get new people on board. So I think professional wrestling as a whole needs to do that. It can't oversaturate itself. That's one of the problems that it could happen. It could just be too much.
So you touched on something that I wanted to ask your opinion on, because I've been a big fan. And to be honest, when this first came out, I was kind of a little hesitant to see, how I thought it was going to play out with having the whole Tessa versus Sammy thing. But you talked about how wrestling needs to not get stale and things like that. What are your thoughts on what we've seen from Tessa and Sammy? Because I think arguably you've got two of the top stars in wrestling, period, right now. I would argue that, Tessa is one of the best, not only female wrestlers in the world right now, one of the best wrestlers, period, right now. So what are your thoughts on that pairing, and how important do you think it is for Impact to try to, continue to do things like that are outside the box, and do you think there's a line where it's too much?
I totally agree with you 100% on everything you just said there. I think those two are at the top of their game. I think Sammy is so smart. He is very underrated. He's a master of crowd control and putting on great matches. And you add Tessa into that mix, and just an athlete, pure athlete. Man, woman, doesn't matter. She is one of the best professional wrestlers today. And it shows that. And you put those two together, and they do it in such a legit fashion. You know what I mean? It's like overboard is her going out there and chokeslamming Madman Fulton. That's overboard to me. You know what I mean? And some people will be like, oh, yeah, this wrestling is, art, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool, whatever. But if you want it to be gritty and realistic and come across legit, like I believe we're doing at the moment, what Impact is doing, then that's what you have to do. It has to be uncomfortable. When he snatches her up by the hair and gives her a pile driver, it has to be uncomfortable, because that would be uncomfortable. Going in the opposite direction, when it becomes comic bookish, cartoonish, that to me is crossing the line. But you know what? Some people do enjoy that. Some people do enjoy that part of it. But I don't feel like that is going to have staying power in a certain sense. You know what I mean? Because I definitely agree that funny makes money. I do agree with that. But I think that the people at the top will always be the ones that could suspend your, disbelief and stuff like that. And I do believe the battles with OVE and Tesla's crew does that, and it does it real well. And that's where I think that type of style of wrestling should go. I don't think it should go into the cartooning part, at least not main eventing your show.
I completely agree with that.
That's just my opinion, though. I'm sure other people will obviously disagree, but I think that feud is being done just right.
I agree completely.
I agree.
Because to me, my thing is, it can be done, but it has to be done right, and it has to be the right opponent. Because, again, like you said, with somebody like Fulton, if you've got her in there with somebody that's, 7 foot tall, big-ass dude, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that she's not capable of doing well, but you've got to keep that level of believability. So yeah. I completely agree with everything you said there. My next question for you would be, with you getting to bounce back and forth between Impact and the Indies, you being a veteran yourself, what in today's climate, if you had any advice for those that are coming up right now, what would be your best advice to a young guy that's coming up right now?
You have to hustle. You have to keep hustling, and you have to be original. I'll use Danhausen as a perfect example. When I first met him, his whole style was like CM Punk. That's who he looked like, and he was trying to be like that style of wrestling. He was trying to be like CM Punk. He was trying to do all this stuff, and he just wasn't going anywhere because there's a bunch of other guys that are trying to do that same thing, and they're going to do it better than he can. And then he reinvented himself. He tapped into a side of himself that nobody else is doing. And next thing you know, he's blowing up everywhere. Same thing with Warhorse. Warhorse, he was always a hard worker, and he was always doing this stuff. And next thing you know, he tapped into his metal side, and now he's blowing up everywhere. You have to find yourself. Hakim Zane, when I first went to Impact, and when I was at first Hakim Zane, and then I was Rohit Raju, and I'm like, man, I really don't, I don't know a lot about what they want me to do. They want me to be this Indian character. And I would go out there, and I wouldn't know how to be. I wouldn't know how to act. And then I remember Dave Chris and Johnny Bravo just said, hey, dude, you just need to be yourself. You just need to be you out there. You just be you with the name Rohit Raju. And I was like, you're right. And next thing you know, I started doing that, and then my matches started getting better, and I started getting better feedback from the companies. So for all these young wrestlers out there, I see a lot of guys, though, they want to be, they think they're important if they're a big fish in a small pond. That's cool, because I used to be a big fish in a small pond. But you have to break out sooner or later. And you can't, if you're not making the travels and the sacrifices and going to shows that you might not even get on and shaking the hands and setting up the rings and all that nonsense, then don't complain about it. You know what I mean? I see guys, well, if I was this, I would be, if I was bigger, if I was in better shape, or if my gimmick was this, then do it. Don't complain about it. Do it. Because I have lost plenty of money, and I had lost plenty of time, and knowing I'm not going to be over 6 feet tall. So I have to do something. What's going to separate me? I'm not as athletic as Frasco, so what separates me? So my whole goal was, I know I can cut a better promo than almost anybody out there. So I have to get a big promotion to let me cut this promo. And I did, and now things are a little bit different for me. Not huge, but it's changing. I was going up to Can-Am. I was going to Ring of Honor Dojo. I was going to Ring of Honor shows. I was going to places where I had to hustle in order to try to get, in a better spot. I wrestled for Ring of Honor like 5 or 6 times and thought they were going to sign me, and thought, they always told me how much they loved me. That never happened, so I had to go back to the drawing board. And then lo and behold, I did, everyone was like, don't do these seminars or just this or that. I did the Pro Wrestling Noah Impact tryout. And next thing you know, I'm being called back to, hey, we're doing this Toughen Up style thing called Global Force. We want you a part of that. So I did that as much as I could. And next thing you know, I'm out there cutting promos and wrestling how I wrestle with my intensity. I'm doing what I do best, and that won the judges over. And next thing you know, I'm going to Ottawa to wrestle as Hakim Zane for Impact Wrestling. And then I get a call at the end of December saying, hey, we're going to give you a contract. Like, you have to hustle. You have to find out who you are, and you have to stick with it. You know what I mean? And it might not come. It could come in 5 years. It might not come until 15 years. The thing is, though, you have to go out and do it. You can't be bitter and complain about it and not do anything about it. Because there's a lot of guys that are bitter and will complain about it, and they have busted their ass. But there's guys out there that I see that be talking about they're not getting this, but I don't ever see you at shows that I'm at. I see you at the same shows. I see you at the same, local indie shows or indie shows that aren't getting any exposure. If you want to be something, then you have to make the sacrifice and go do it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And you have to get in the ring. You have to get in some type of shape that you're going to be, out hustling dudes. And you have to find out what works for you and do it better than anybody else. And that's my advice. It's a hard thing, man. I'm in Impact right now trying to show them that I can be more than what they are using me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like I closed one chapter, but now I'm in a new book and I'm on chapter 1 again. So it's like I'm starting all over. I'm begging for a microphone at Impact. I'm doing the things at AEW to show them that I can be more than what they're doing. So I'm hustling all over again. It never ends. It never ends.
So before we let you get out of here, first of all, you had no idea that what's about to happen was coming, because one of the biggest segments on our show, and it's the one that the listeners ask about the most. So we've got a segment that's called Locker Room Etiquette, which was usually the question we usually leave for the end of it. And you totally, pretty much gave your answer without even us asking it. We've had everything from guys like Congo Kong and Josh Briggs and Austin Theory and all guys from Evolve and all kinds of stuff like that. We've had everything from, bring your own squirt bottle, bring your own wrist tape, shake everybody's hand, the normal ones that everybody knows, but stuff like keep your baby mama out of the locker room and all kinds of stuff like that. So for you, would that be what you would say is one of your biggest pet peeves as far as the locker room goes, whether that be in the indies or for Impact as well? Because I was listening to your answer and I'm like, wow, he totally just answered my question without me even getting to it.
What's that? Just guys not busting their ass?
Well, no, you were talking about, needing to go out there and show why you want to be better and not being stuck in the same indie shows. And like I said, I was getting ready to ask the locker room etiquette question anyway, but I was like, dude, that's about as good an answer as we could have asked anybody for.
Yeah, I guess it kind of is. There's a lot of stuff in the locker room. Bring your own wrist tape is definitely high up on my thing. That's just, I don't mind borrowing, lending you some wrist tape, but man, I gotta wrap my whole arm up to look like a gauntlet. Hell no, man. You just use my whole thing, and then when dudes don't give it back to you, God, that irks me. But no, I see guys sometimes they complain, and I'm not where I want to be. I'm with Impact where I want to be, but I am still trying to move up that ladder. You have to hustle. I don't know if you would say this in locker room etiquette, but I hate it when people complain about something that they have the power to change. Now, you could look like $1 million, you could talk like $1 million, you could wrestle like $1 million. And if you are doing all the right things and still not getting where you need to be, yeah, that does suck. Because I know a lot of people that have been in that situation. I have been in that situation. Trust me. When you know your worth and you're not getting used for your worth, it does suck. But I see a lot of guys that don't want to put the effort in to either Josh Lovato is a perfect example. This dude found his
another past guest of the show.
Man, he got himself in shape. His gear is amazing. He revamped himself just like Danhausen did, and that's the type of stuff you have to do. You have to, if it's not working for you, you got to find something that works but that it's you that you're good at, that it comes natural. And you see a lot of people will just sit there and complain about stuff, but it's like you're not even putting forth the effort to change it. So no one's gonna care. You're just complaining, and it's just like I don't like to see that. You gotta go out there. Unfortunately, and I was working a full-time job and wrestling, and I was using all of my vacation time to wrestle. You know what I mean? So it sucks, but you got to find a way to try to make it work. It does suck, but I'm not trying to be an asshole about it. But
no, dude, that's just being
like,
real.
Oh man, I'm not getting this. But it's like I see you on the same 3 shows. You need to travel. You need to get in cars. If you want it, you have to go for it. Because it ain't gonna come to you. You have to go to it. At least you say, even if you didn't get it at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, at least you went for it. And you're not gonna sit back and like, man, I really should have went to that state to try to get into this promotion, or I should have went to this camp or something like that, or I should have been in the gym. You have to go for it. I think so many guys are let in the back door a little bit easily, and they're handled with kid gloves. And it's like, man, you gotta take your bumps and get your ass out there and put in that work. Sometimes people do give it to you, but for the majority of it, they're not going to give it to you. You gotta hustle for it.
So I have to let you know there's been shots fired. Mikey said that there's total lies because he says you don't even bring your own wrist tape.
That's a damn lie. Who said that?
Mikey for breaking down the ring.
Oh God. Yeah, I have 2 things of white wrist tape because I know one of them's going to disappear.
I had to throw that in there because he said it just as you were talking about the wrist tape part. But before we let you get out of here, man, let everybody know, is there anywhere in the local area that we'll be seeing you anytime soon? And let anybody know what you got coming up. I saw that you got AAWs coming up again, and just let anybody know where they can find you.
November 24th, November 24th, this Sunday, I'll be down, and I think it's out in Illinois, Lower Illinois by St. Louis for Glory Pro, wrestling Myron Reed for the Midwest Territory Championship.
Nice.
Then I'll be in November 30th. I will be at AAW wrestling Myron Reed. I'll have Karam, the Hustle and the Muscle, will be there both times. December 7th, I will be in Dayton for Impact. December 8th, I will be in Bellevue, Michigan with Impact Wrestling. So
at the
I know
Diamondback, right?
Like, when's Impact coming to Michigan? This is your chance to not only see the rest of the roster, but there's a lot of people that keep asking, when am I going to see you wrestle for Impact in Michigan? This is the chance right here. And then December 15th, they'll be at Alpha One. And then the 21st is Glory Pro again. The 30th is AAW again. Is it 28th? I think it is. I think it's 28th. But I will be filling in dates in between there as well, though. So I'm trying to do at least 2 or 3 a weekend. So we'll see what happens. And of course, you can watch me every 8 p.m. every Tuesday on AXS TV or on Twitch with Impact Wrestling.
So we're definitely going to throw your name out to Mike Blackwell because I know me personally, I want to see a match between you and Orlando Christopher one-on-one in person because I've seen them online. Yeah. I think that would be pretty fucking dope to see in person. So I definitely am going to throw that out there when I talk to him.
I feel like we gel well, and I know I read something where he said he's moving down to, I think, Tennessee. So I'd like to get one more with him before he takes off.
Well, I'll definitely be throwing that out there, man. Like I said, man, we appreciate your time. And when you guys come for Impact, we were already talking about coming to that show. So when we get down there, we're definitely going to have to link up with you in person.
Dude, I'm all about it. And thanks for having me. Anytime I get a chance to talk wrestling with people, I'm all about it. You can tell Mikey, we can debate Star Wars all day long, and I'll school him in it. So.
Shit. That sounds like we might have a round 2 podcast. We might have to join up Knockouts and 3 Counts and Breaking Down the Ring. And while we're doing that, make sure if you're in the area this Sunday, we're going to be teaming up with the boys from Breaking Down the Ring, and we're going to be doing our Survivor Series party. We've got the upstairs of the B-Dubs downtown. We're going to be doing giveaways. We're going to be giving away tickets to BCWA, autographs, who the hell knows what you're going to get? We've given away NXT tickets, signed Sting bets. You need to be there. So, yeah, Mikey, we'll definitely have to talk about your wrist tape comments when we get down to Detroit this weekend.
Yeah, lies and deception. That's what that was.
Well, hell yeah, brother, man. I appreciate it, and we're definitely going to have to bring you back on the show. It was definitely a fun interview.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
No problem, man. See you soon.
All right, take it easy.
Thanks a lot.
All right, Kyle, we got about 10 minutes left, man. So this weekend we've got not only NXT TakeOver, we've got Survivor Series. Obviously, we can't go through both cards. Real quick, point out the things that you're most looking forward to, whether it be one or two on both of those shows.
I'm really looking forward to the Rey Mysterio versus Brock Lesnar match to see really how they really book this match. You know, I mean, going into it, Rey's obviously the ultimate underdog, but to see him going versus Brock, I want to see if they bring Cain Velasquez back into it and make him a part of it. Something like that. I can't see them just making this a 3-minute match. You know, so that is something I do want to see how they actually really bring this all together to make it interesting, because otherwise, what do you got Brock there for?
I hear you. Anything on NXT? Other than the obvious War Games?
Yeah, it's NXT, it's War Games, so everything they're doing. I mean, that, like I said, if I don't watch the main pay-per-view, I'm watching whatever NXT is doing. I'm watching that because that's going to get my full attention. So, it's the whole card. I mean, it's a War Games match, so I mean that's great. I guess I'm going to be more surprised to see how they do the actually Survivor Series, because NXT at this point you can almost set it at cruise control, and you know you're going to get at least one 5-star match out of that whole card.
Okay, so for me, honestly, War Games as a whole is going to be fucking awesome. But the two things that I think are going to be sleepers on that card that I'm most interested to see how they play out. One being the female War Games match. It's the first time we've had a female War Games match. I want to see how that's going to play out. I want to see if it's going to be as hype as the men's match, which I have no reason to think that it wouldn't be. The other match that I think could be a real sleeper on that card, we saw this past week, if you watched NXT, that they pulled Matt Riddle from the men's War Games match, but a match between he and Finn Balor, that intrigues me. I don't know why, just something about that matchup. I don't know, man. Something about that matchup. I think that one could definitely be a sleeper on that card. Also, as far as Survivor Series as a whole, even though I haven't been the biggest fan of what we've seen on Raw and SmackDown and things of that nature, I have liked what they've done with the invasion of the NXT stuff. I like that they've made it, to where they've really hammered home the point that the main roster, quote unquote, talent are really, seeing the influx of the people from NXT and, are banding together to fight against each other. So I really like what I've seen.
And how many people.
What were you going to say?
And the fact that a majority of the main stars on both brands are from NXT. So they still have that, that little bit of one foot still in NXT. And Triple H's promo with Kevin Owens last night on Raw really kind of highlighted it, that once you go up to the main roster, quote unquote, you lose a little bit of what made you special, which is what a lot of stars have, kind of lamented to. So it is going to be interesting to see if anybody on any of the Survivor Series teams kind of trade and side with NXT, because majority of them were better when they were in NXT.
So I don't have like a specific name that I think is going to switch, but something tells me like somebody that's involved with the big men's match. I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be Seth Rollins. I don't know if it's going to be Kevin Owens. And hell, it might be somebody that we haven't even thought about. But something tells me that somebody is going to jump ship over to NXT. And I know that the reason why they're bringing NXT in so much right now is because of Survivor Series. But me personally, I feel like the influx of having them come in and the unpredictability of who's going to come in and when they're going to come in and what they're going to do. And like you said, the promos from Triple H, I like the fact that he's playing off the fact that NXT is the thing that put those guys on the map as far as WWE goes. Because Kevin Owens, we knew about him before he got there when he was Kevin Steen. But let's face it, NXT and the stuff he did in the short time he was there was also what put him on the map for WWE fans. The same with Seth Rollins when he was the inaugural champ. So to me, I like those things, and I like that they tied in the main roster stuff with it, in that when they were talking about the Seth thing with Triple H, every time you've kind of hit that lull, I've been the one to pull you back out and to point those things out. To me, also makes it a little bit more intriguing as far as to see what's going to happen. So with that being said,
if you're ever going to turn Rollins heel, this will be the time to do it.
I mean, I wouldn't be mad at it. I mean, I think it would be a good refresh for his character, but really, would he be a heel though? Because I feel like a lot of fans would like for him to go over to NXT, quite frankly.
I mean, like you said, it plays more into his possible real personality. I mean, the Seth Rollins that got me really to being a Seth Rollins fan was the heel double champion tool of the Authority. And this just burn it down, just come out there and say a 20-minute promo of the same shit every week. Seth Rollins has bored the shit out of me for like the last 6 months. So just my opinion, I think he does need something to really shake up his character, kind of like what AJ Styles did. AJ was babyface on SmackDown, had over a year reign as champion, and then now he's heel, and he feels entertaining more. It's a good juxtaposition. So I think that's been a long time coming for his character, and I think it will really add another dimension to him.
And definitely a good point. They really hammered home the whole SmackDown is the house that AJ Styles built. And if you're looking for a house, Stransky & Company is the place to go. Stransky & Company is a top-producing real estate team that specializes in individual strategy, over-the-top service, and continued success for their clients. They are the real estate easy button. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest, call them at 248-563-9449 or email them at admin@Stransky & Company and follow them on Instagram or Facebook. And check them out at StranskyandCompany.com. If you're paying attention to any of our social media, man, these guys are really putting out beautiful homes. Like, I'm not just saying that because they've been supporting us so much. I mean, I'm telling you, just go look at any of their social medias. I named them all there. They're also, all their links to all their websites can be found on our website at ko3cpod.com. With that being said, make sure if you're in the area this weekend, come check us out along with the boys from Breaking Down the Ring. We're going to be doing our big Survivor Series party. We got the whole upstairs is ours. We're going to be watching Survivor Series this Sunday, Buffalo Wild Wings, Detroit, Michigan, next to the old Shillelagh. If you ain't doing nothing, which you're probably not because it's a fucking Sunday, come out, come have a good time. Who knows what you could get? You could get an NXT ticket, which have been given in the past. You could get, autographs. You could get tickets to shows. You never know what we're going to throw in there. So it's all the more reason you need to be there. And if you come, make sure you're there a little bit early so that you can be in on the pro wrestling scorecards and make your picks so that you can be in on all of the raffles. With that being said, before we get out of here, Kyle, throw out your social media one more time.
You can find me, Kyle J. Campbell, on Facebook. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram at Team Chaos, all one word. That's KAYOS. You can also find my other show, Wakanda Podcast Is This, where I talk comic books, movies, news, reviews of the CW Arrowverse shows. That's WAKINDA Podcast Is This. And you can also find me in the Reality Era News group on Facebook and the Wakanda Podcast Is This group on Facebook.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Detroit Knockout, Detroit NOKOUT. Make sure you're following the show at KO3C Pod. Please go like and subscribe all the fire-ass content that we just brought you from StarCast 4 over there on our YouTube, Knockouts and 3 Counts. You can find us there. Tonight's show will be up there by the time you wake up tomorrow. Anyways, make sure you're checking out all our social media. Make sure you're checking out the website. And again, make sure you're in the building this Sunday. Survivor Series, Buffalo Wild Wings, us breaking down the ring. You never know what kind of fucking shenanigans can show up. Make sure you're there. And with that being said, Peace.
The intro music is More by Punch Deck.
Shout out to Punch Deck.